Welcome, everyone, to the Cryptographic Asset Show. We are sitting down with Chase at Attack Wagon Games. He's a co-founder there. Thanks for coming on, Chase.
Thanks so much. Appreciate being on.
So why don't you tell everyone what Attack Wagon Games is all about?
Yeah, so Wagon Games is a blockchain video game company that believes in the play to earn aspect of games, but also free to play aspects of games. We're all about story and bringing a lot more juicy art and story into these blockchain games to make people really get sucked in and want to not only play a blockchain game, but also be immersed in the experience.
How are you planning on incorporating blockchain?
Yes, we have a few ways. We are releasing our ATK token. Our first IDO is on November 29th. And with that, that will be, of course, a governance token in the future with our future DAO, but also the ability to earn that token and use it in game will be spread throughout the game. We also are using NFTs for all of our vehicle assets. So you can actually get those NFTs, you can upgrade them and fly around the universe doing some fun things.
When did you get the idea to incorporate blockchain into a gaming setting?
Yeah, that's actually a great question. We actually didn't even start off as a blockchain company. I've been involved in crypto for quite a while. I would say my first real dive into it was in first dive was in 2013, but I didn't really get super into it until about 2017 on that super high projectile of everything that was going on in the crypto world. And I put a lot of money in and lost a lot of money right after. So it was definitely my first fun experience into getting into crypto. But from there, it taught me a whole lot. It truthfully introduced me to this whole idea of what NFTs are. Even in 2018, with some early games, I started buying up a bunch of NFT assets, getting into this idea that you could have some sort of ownership inside of these games. And from there, whenever we decided to create our video game company, it's something me and my brother and a few friends have always really wanted to do, is create these just amazing stories for people to play in. And when we decided to do that, one of the biggest aspects we really decided to do is we wanted people to feel like they were a part of it. And one of the best ways to feel like you're a part of something is to actually own something and feel like you're part of it in that way. So we really played around with the idea of bringing this blockchain idea into the game. We kind of followed a lot of other games that were doing it. We played a lot of other games that were doing it, and just kind of truthfully just dove right in head first.
What do you think blockchain is going to do to the gaming industry?
I think it's still going to take a little bit, first of all. But I do love that AAA studios and things like that are starting to look at it. I mean, just even with recently with EA CEO talking about how it's truthfully the future of blockchain gaming. I do think there's definitely a lot of things that have to occur before it's really mainstream. However, we're the guinea pigs right now, figuring out how it's going to work and really trying to nail down how everything works. I think one of the biggest cliffs to the whole introduction, though, is just currently the ease of use when it comes to understanding blockchain, what it means. And then also apologize for the email notes, the email dings. But that whole ease of use aspect, I think, is definitely one of the biggest cliffs. And it's something that Attack Wagon is really trying to hit hard with our game. We're trying to make it as easy as possible for you to kind of just get in, jump in straight into the game, start earning right away. And then really start learning for yourself what crypto is after you've already started earning a little bit of it. So
when I first got into Bitcoin, one of the first ideas I had about how it might translate into the virtual or digital world was through like a Grand Theft Auto setting in which like you were actually able to like rob value from people, etc.
yeah.
What do you think of that?
I mean, that's actually, I mean, it's funny you say that, because I think that's some of the semi-controversial parts about blockchain in the gaming industry, is just we've actually ran into these kind of questions all the time with stealing value and things like that from people, actually literally robbing them in game, from a few different aspects of our games. And we've definitely tried to steer away from how that works in our game. In our game, there are in-game assets and there are um, uh, uh, crypto assets. So in no way can you steal crypto assets from other people in our game. We really wanted to, really harness the idea that you cannot rob people in our game. However, I wouldn't say that it's crazy either, and there's something kind of fun about that. I think it's also along the lines of gambling in a lot of ways when it comes to the stealing aspect, and you could possibly play into that a little bit. But for our game specifically, that we're not looking into being able to really take away other people's earnings, but you can make it harder for people to earn.
Tell us more about the in-game items in Attack Wagon games.
Yeah, so our in-game items are actually ship parts. So each one of our ship parts are statted differently. So one of the big features of our game is we are a free to play to earn game. So you actually start off with this ship that has a bunch of random ship parts that are all common level ship parts. And from there, you can upgrade them, buy new ones in the marketplace. But each one of our ship parts are completely different. So each one of them do something a little bit different. You have engines, you have a chassis, you have a nose to your ship that does things for your sensors and things like that. You have extensions from guns to, different weapons of different sorts. And the whole idea of the game is you're going through and you're scrapping metal, you're selling things and trying to earn income in a semi-labor intensive kind of game, but there's also that risk and reward aspect of getting out there in the universe, getting blown up, and then still making it back to the hangar with your goods and resources in order to profit from it.
What do you think about the play to earn movement, and what does it mean for gamers, and especially those in perhaps say like the peripheral countries of like Western civilization? They're sometimes called developing countries, third world countries, Southern Hemisphere. What do you think play to earn means for them specifically?
I actually think that's one of the coolest parts about this entire blockchain gaming system. Everyone has read the stories of what Axie's doing, for instance, across different countries. The idea that you could walk into a store and they would be more willing to take your AXS or SLP from your wallet rather than their own native currency, I think is an amazing showing of what we can do in these countries too. I think one of the interesting things is just bringing about that aspect that these people can go to work and make more money enjoying their lives playing these games rather than doing some of the things that they've had to do in the past. And then also actually being able to really benefit from it, and really changing some of the ways that these countries, the people in these countries, develop. I do think it's really, really interesting on that side, but also just the side of what crypto actually means in the wider world, and the ability to make this more global currency that's actually more worth it than most of the local currencies.
Tell us about like your journey in crypto. What excited you about it, and how did you end up on the gaming side of cryptocurrency, which is, I think, probably one of the newer kind of offshoots of this technology. I suppose based on NFT technology to agree. NFT technology, interestingly, started out really as being ideated as like supply chain technology for real serious purposes and supply chain issues. And it's really, I guess, established itself first and foremost in the popular culture as NFTs. So can you speak to like your journey and then how you ended up in gaming?
Yeah, I think one of the interesting aspects of when I was a kid was this idea that I didn't really play games necessarily the same way my brother played games. My brother played games to be competitive, to go in and blow stuff up, just have fun. I played games and got sucked into the like story of the game. So I can't remember half the games I played now, but let's just Banjo-Kazooie was one, a random N64 game, Nintendo 64. And one of the ways I played that game when I was a kid is I just ran around and I imagined what my life would be like if I actually lived in this house and, just walked around that house playing like it's almost like a dollhouse kind of situation. And just the idea that there is that in even those older type of games where um, and nowadays what we're talking about now is the ability to actually call that a house that I own and I can actually use in some sort of metaverse way is, truthfully along the lines of what I wanted to do back when I was a kid. And just that transition from the imagination of it to the reality of it, I think is such a big deal. And be able to, I mean, truthfully bring people more fantasy and liveliness to their lives, I think is fantastic. Just the idea that these stories can come to life is a big deal for me. And I would say that's more of my journey is taking that fantasy, those stories, and making them reality is such a big deal.
I want to talk a little bit about like the importance of storytelling to what Attack Wagon Games is doing.
Yeah. So I think one of the biggest things that we've talked a lot about with other people, with other news agencies, with other investors and advisors, things like that, is what we want to do is kind of what I've already mentioned is we want to bring people into these stories. One thing that I think that crypto games and a lot of crypto projects don't do super well is they might have amazing marketing, they might have great use cases of their tokens or NFTs, which are fantastic. You need those things, but some things that they don't do super well is this idea that of story, truthfully, of bringing people and sucking them completely into this world that they're creating. And a lot of them have the great instances of what they could be and what they could do with those stories, but they just don't go there. And I think that's kind of what blockchain is missing. What is another aspect of blockchain that people can really get sucked from our normal world to the blockchain world is bringing them in through story, because people that they're super interested in story. Our lives revolve around story. We tell our kids stories every single night before they go to bed. We read news because we're interested in the story aspect. We listen to murder podcasts because we're interested in the actual story of it. So if story is so involved in our lives already, why aren't we introducing it into the blockchain world?
And what have you learned about the technology that's being applied from the blockchain world into the gaming world? What platforms have you experimented with and things like that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. We're actually building on Polygon. It's a layer 2. Everything is going to be running through our layer 2 Polygon, including our token. So for us, we're looking for something that is still along the lines of value of ETH and things like that, but we know that one of the biggest instances, one of the biggest hiccups right now is gas prices, and we want to take that away as much as possible from our users, from our fans. So we're building everything on Polygon. Now we've looked into other things. We are definitely open to making things cross-chain compatible and things like that in the future. Right now we're just starting off here, but we have looked at things like Solana. We've looked at Ava and a few other really, really cool technologies that are kind of coming out with either super low gas prices or no gas prices. But for us, the biggest thing for all of this is just ease of use. And that's kind of what we want to build towards for the future. Is we're wanting to introduce people through story, and we're wanting to make it as easy as possible to get them in the game, start earning money and understanding it and being able to use it in some way.
What have you learned about the different smart contracting technologies from Ethereum to Polygon to Ava, et cetera?
I think it is not necessarily my realm. I'm not really the developer sort. I'm not really the tech sort. I usually leave that up to my awesome team. But I do really like the fact that, so first of all, I've met with a lot of these companies. I've met with Avalanche, and I've met with the guys at Solana and things like that. So hearing what they are trying to do with these technologies, I think is amazing. As what they're trying to do is truthfully opened up the internet. And I think that's really, it was really where we're kind of going and needing to go with a lot of these technologies and making that simple ease of use case. But yeah, as far as the technology goes itself, I usually leave that up to my tech guys.
What pulled you into the crypto space originally? Was it Ethereum?
Well, when I very first got into crypto in 2013, it was Bitcoin. Now, I didn't do a whole lot back then. I really wanted to buy some of those old butterfly, I think they're called butterfly machines that essentially, mined for you. And I tried to convince my wife. I was like, we got to do this. I think it's such a cool thing. There's a possibility of it earning money, and we never did. Totally should have. I'm not gonna let her ever live that one down. But I really got into it through Ethereum, and I say that I actually got into it through XRP, through the Ripple company. There was a whole lot of sorry, I'm getting messages left and right. There was a whole lot of real hype in 2017 around XRP, and that got a lot of my friends involved and me involved as well. But from there, from XRP really sucking me into this idea of what they could do. Although I liked what they could do, liked the possibility of money and things like that, what really interested me the most was decentralization, and XRP wasn't necessarily what I was looking for. So with that, I went and started looking more into what this decentralization really meant and how it affects everything, and I really fell in love with what they're doing with Ethereum. And again, Ethereum's been around quite a bit longer than a lot of these companies, and they aren't necessarily as good at a lot of things as they could be, but there's still a big store of value there. And just the idea that they have really introduced with this centralization, and I mean that's Bitcoin and everything, but has really sucked me into this whole blockchain idea, and it's kind of kept me here for so long.
What does decentralization mean to you?
Decentralization, essentially, I don't want anyone to have control over me or my assets or what I want out of this world, this life, and my money. So yeah, that's definitely decentralization to me.
And really for the future, we see, I think, like two parallel civilizations at least. There's like this third one apparently out at sea where they got these like UFO type things, whatever that is. There's like basically like the Western civilization. We've come through the industrial age, we're post-industrial, we're heading into the technological age. And then there's this parallel civilization that's being made by the cyberpunks in crypto. And they're really just trying to create an alternative tech stack for civilization to be deployed upon. What do you think of that?
I think it's the future, man. I think it's definitely the future. Now, I just more than anything want to be a part of it.
Tell me more about like being part of it. So here we are, we're at like a big turning point on many levels for society. And one of those turning points was Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency space. So like, what has it been like to watch it over the last almost 6 years now, 5 years since 2017, evolve and metastasize, as Trace Mayer used to, a word Trace Mayer used to use?
It's so funny just because of how young everything really is, but it moves so fast, so incredibly fast with the technology upgrades. Whenever I first started getting into it, looking at just the basic tokenomics of things and just the basic tokens, and then going from that to NFTs and seeing that evolution of NFTs from the basic 721, and then what kind of upgrades they're doing to it, what kind of things that we can do with NFTs. That's been the craziest thing for me to see, because I wasn't even sure really where the NFTs really would live through all this. The idea back in the day, even I owned some crypto space commanders back when it first started launching, and they started doing these loot boxes with these little tiny parts and things like that, and seeing those and what they could be back then wasn't a lot. It was really, really cool idea. but it wasn't still a whole lot. But now what you can kind of do with NFTs and the upgrade stats and things like that on your NFTs, and just the evolutions those have taken, I'm super intrigued and interested to see what we can do with the future of NFTs and where that could really go.
What excites you about the future at Attack Wagon Games?
Yeah, so the future of Attack Wagon Games is, um, again, very story based. We actually want to release more than, we're not just trying to say, hey, this is our game, this is our one game. This is the beginning. We're wanting to release different worlds that people can really play in. So the future for us is that we have created multiple worlds, and there's so much to them that you can just go in, enjoy them, be sucked into that story, be a part of that story, add to that story. And I think that's kind of the future of what we're going down the line of the metaverse. Is it is your metaverse. So what can, we really bring to that, and what can other people really bring to that really speaks into our games?
All right. So just, we got like 15, just under 15 minutes left, if that's okay. And I do kind of want to dig in here because I think that this is a good opportunity to kind of get everything out there. And I'm going to split everything up into clips too. So like, the next clip I imagine is all about the metaverse. Like what is the metaverse?
Oh man, such a great question. Because there's so many different aspects to it. There's different ways that people that are playing it out and showing what this metaverse could be. And the ones that, that I've always been super interested in, things like Sandbox and things like that, or Decentraland, where it is a full world that you can go in and live a life in this virtual Minecraft-esque, like civilization, is super cool. That whole aspect. I was actually involved in Second Life back way before, and truthfully I think one of the first ultimate metaverse ideas before the blockchain idea. And I love this idea that this big metaverse could exist outside of our real world. I mean, of course, being a Ready Player One fan, reading all those books, I think that has always been a goal for so much of these game companies and these I guess metaverse companies. I wouldn't necessarily call all of them games. I would just say there are metaverse companies that are trying to bring reality to the web. And for us, it's a little bit different. I think the aspect of just being in the world literally through either VR or something like that is one aspect. And I think just the idea of metaverse being these alternate realities of your own stories, I think, is another really big aspect of it. And for us, it's not that you're really jumping into this world. You don't necessarily own a plot of land and get to build up that little plot of land while you play we're not that kind of metaverse. When it comes down to it, we are just a metaverse where you get in and you're helping us tell a story. So I think that's definitely another part of what these metaverses could be, is just these shared storylines, these shared ideas. And yeah, that's pretty much what I think the metaverses are.
Most people are being introduced to this idea through Facebook, Meta. So
Yes.
how many metaverses are there going to be? Are there, and should there be? So like for one, at the very least, there's definitely this like centralized metaverse, maybe centered around Facebook, although it's just a marketing thing, just like Libra was marketing, right?
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, I don't know if Calibre now or something. I forget what it's called now. Their token project, but that was graced headlines everywhere and has gone nowhere. So
Oh,
is
yeah.
Meta the same thing? Maybe, but at the very least, we've got this idea around Meta or Facebook, and then there's the decentralized metaverses of crypto. So
Yeah.
can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. I think the one thing that Facebook has going for it is that it owns Oculus. I mean, that's just straight up a big advantage. It's got the big advantage of millions of users, of course. I do think it's going to be very different from what the decentralized metaverse, and I think there is going to be a very big um, showdown, I guess is a good way of putting it, between whether you want to be centralized or you want to be decentralized. When it comes to the decentralized metaverses, I do think there's going to be one or two that win out in the end. I don't necessarily think it's super competitive right now. I don't know how much you know about just all these companies. We really do work together in so many good ways and partner up and want to see each other's projects thrive and survive. But when it comes down to any product, there will be one that is more used eventually over time. There will be one that definitely has the inflow and the influx of users that um, will make it the thing, just like VHS and Betamax. There's that, like, the Betamax is the better product by far, but VHS took it over, even though it was crap because it was cheap and easy. And I think it held more video. Like, there's just those kind of aspects of, like, I think there really will be a product that comes and stands out and really wins the hearts and minds of people. And personally, I think that is the decentralized version. I mean, I think there is going to be a time, there's going to be a day for the centralized Facebook Meta. I don't think it's going to be long lived, though. When it comes down to it, I think that one of the big things that us as decentralized gamer creators is just, we really do need to continue to lock arms and continue to build out these big worlds, because I think one thing that we do have that at least currently is the fact that we do have so many really cool decentralized worlds, and if we continue to lock arms and build each other up, I think that in the end we definitely will win out over this one centralized big name Facebook advertisement world, because I do think there's going to be some terrible features. I mean, don't get me wrong, one of the cool things about the decentralized world, yeah, there's advertisements, but it's because those people bought into it. They support what they're trying to do. And with Facebook, it's just ad central. It's, you can tell how salesy it is. And the decentralized world, it's so free. And that's what I love.
Will we see a Neuralink Meta partnership? No, I'm joking.
Yeah.
The spirit of collaboration in the decentralized metaverse world. Can you talk to that a little bit?
The spirit of collaboration. Yeah, I mean, it's truthfully very weird being a business owner and knowing just from other projects like how competitive different companies can be, how cutthroat it can be. It is so different in this decentralized world, and it's very refreshing, and I think a lot of people are attracted to that. That there's so much cooperation, so much hey, you're doing the same kind of thing I'm doing, that's cool, let's work together and figure out how to do it better. And I think that's the future of humanity, man. I don't think the future of humanity is complete competition always. I think the future of humanity is working together and locking arms. So I think right now what we're seeing from the decentralized realm is this idea that we should build the world that way. We should build out, for instance, DAOs, I think, is a really great example. This decentralized autonomous voting system that you and everyone else can really have that authority over these ideas that play into the metaverses, into different projects. I think that's definitely where the future is, man. I think that's where the future is going, and as more and more people learn about it, I think one of the biggest fears and of all of this is that they just don't understand. So for the future, I think the biggest thing is education, but not scary education. And that's kind of what Attack Wagon is trying to bring, is we're trying to bring some education, but not make it so scary. And I think it's going to help a lot.
Can you talk more about Attack Wagon's education element?
Yeah. So some of the big things we're trying to do are, I'll kind of just run you through a little bit of an instance, is whenever you create a account with Attack Wagon, of course it's anonymous, but it auto generates a Polygon wallet for you. So you're already in the game. You already have a wallet set up. You're not having to worry about how it works, what network to set up. One of the big things with other, games is, okay, I have to make this wallet. Then I have to figure out, okay, if it's on Polygon network, how the heck do I do that? What does that mean? So we're trying to introduce people to it in a very, very simple way by getting them more automatically into it, giving them a little bit of dialogue on how some of these things kind of work, but introducing it super, super simple, rather than trying to just give them a brain dump right at the very, very beginning of them jumping into the game. So after they're in, after they start earning, that's where a lot of more of the education comes in. And we're doing that through some videos and things like that in game, where you will be learning from some different characters and things like that, how to actually take your money and make it money, or make it actual fiat currency or things like that. So we're we're doing it in a way that I feel like not a lot of players have done it so far. And we're trying to make it, this sounds terrible, but just trying to dumb it down a little bit, but it's not dumbed down. It's just eased. And truthfully, I kind of tell a lot of people, like, we're trying to be essentially the Mac version of a lot of these companies, where it just kind of makes sense. You jump in, it just kind of does things for you, and then eases you into the instructions on how to get better at it. And that's kind of what we're building our entire project around.
And that's been a holy grail of sorts for crypto apps across the spectrum, is how do you create a level of user friendliness
Yeah.
with which people are familiar? So do you want to talk a little bit more about the user friendliness of your games?
Yeah. So we're gamers when it comes to, at our heart of everything, we're gamers. So we didn't necessarily want at the beginning to build something because it's crypto. Like, you know what I'm saying? We're not building this because of crypto. We're using crypto in order to be, better at games, enjoy these games more. Now, when it comes to that, the use of ease, or the ease of use, wow, is really trying to build in just easy systems. So I'll give you an example. Whenever you very first start the game and create your account, it's essentially making a wallet for you and allowing you to start earning money right away. And with that, we are introducing everything in the game as it feels in game. It doesn't feel like, oh, I've just earned ETH, and ETH is this thing that is in real life. We're playing like it's in our world. So with even all of our terms and terminology when in game, we're trying to make it feel like this is still part of the game. This is, if you go to any other game, gold coins is a big thing, with a lot of video games. We're trying to make it feel like that, rather than this is some crypto. And then explain to people how they can take that and use it in the real world, use it outside of even our game. And I think that's kind of where a lot of the ease of learning will come in, is just introducing it in a way that they already understand, and then taking it and expounding on that to make it a lot easier for people to really grasp that idea that this equals this, rather than just throw them into the whole tokenomics aspect of cryptocurrency and really confusing them on how things work and networks work and things like that.
Do you have any, like, in closing, the comments on the in-game items and the tokenomics of the game?
Of attack or scrap guilds? Yeah.
Yes.
So our very first game is called Scrap Guilds, by the way. I don't think we've even mentioned it yet.
What is Scrap Guilds?
So Scrap Guilds is a game where you are a scrapper in the universe. The king has died. There's these split factions that have had these huge, massive space battles for generations, and there's scrap everywhere. The universe is a mess. And we're trying to bring about that aspect of sci-fi and fantasy and meld them together, and give you a very, very different setting, and something that you can really lock onto and enjoy. Going in, naming your ship, calling it your, the Black Beauty or whatever, going in and enjoying the actual aspect of the game of the theme, but then also being able to jump in, collect that scrap, make those magical items, and sell those things for real world, currencies.
And any comments on the in-game items from there?
Yeah. So as far as in-game items go, our NFTs, what we're starting off with, and I would say with a lot of these games, just even like scrap guilds, we are starting off one way and we are building and expanding and upgrading to more and more things in the future. But as of right now, what we have is our ships, our scrapper ships that you start off with, these ship parts. And these are 1155s, of course, that way we can continue to upgrade their stats and do different things with these NFTs that really bring value to them. As you start the game, they're common, but as you continue to go through the game, you're building it up, you're upgrading your things and making them eventually to legendary status, so they will be worth more to be able to sell in the marketplace and be able to earn money not only through our in-game currencies but also through our NFTs. As you are upgrading them yourself, you are making them valuable from your hard work and then being able to sell them off for real money.
We've had the honor of sitting down today with Chase of Attack Wagon Games. Thank you so much, Chase, for joining us today.
No, thank you so much.
And thank you, everyone, for listening.